Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video series, we are going to actually study SQL, that's Structured Query Language. So I know I haven't been uploading videos for a long time now, but I will try to complete this series. This is just going to be a basic SQL series, and if it goes well, maybe I'll make an advanced one. So yeah, just a quick intro to SQL and a few of its concepts before we dive in. So yeah, SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and it was founded by Raymond Boyce and Don Chamberlain. So they were researchers at IBM, and they found it in 1970s. Uh, so these two researchers knew the actual full form of IBM. So yeah, what SQL actually stands for, what does it do? So it's basically a language which helps us to access and manipulate databases. So SQL is not like a complex languages like Java and C++. It runs one line each time. So just like R programming, if you have any knowledge based on that. So what can SQL do? It works on a database. So a database of maybe a shop, list of customers, what they bought, etc. So these queries, these each lines of code that we run are called queries in SQL. So what we can do for a database, a table, is we can update its columns, we can insert more rows, create new databases. For example, we can make all sorts of changes in a database. So what's a database actually? So a database means it's a collection of huge amount of information that is highly valuable. So so what's actually a database? We can consider this rectangle our sorry we can consider this rectangle our database. So this database will have multiple tables, for example, and each of these tables will have different kinds of information. For example, this table has the names of the customers and an ID associated with them, which makes them unique. For example, there can be two people named Rob. So yeah, when you give them an ID, so yeah, they are unique, they are completely individual people. And then maybe this has their names, their addresses, and maybe this table has what they shop, how often they shop, and what are the things they bought, what are the things they don't buy maybe, and what they require further maybe. And all these tables are connected to each other by some or other way, by some of other attribute, you can say. For example, like if I want to see what a certain person, Rob or Max, bought, I can just check his ID and go into another table and see what are the items he bought during a specific day, time, or whatever kind of condition we want. So this is how basically a database works, in very short meaning. So moving next, so since we discussed what's database, what's database management system? This is a term that we hear a lot. So it's kind of a system where we used to make all of these changes in our database. And why we use it? Because it's more reliable, because it provides security to the database. It gives very good protection. It can handle multiple users, and it also maintains data consistency. So the characteristics of DBMS, so basically it runs on a server, it can reduce the complex relationships between data, it runs faster. A few of the advantages of DBMS is that what can we say, maybe it's very efficient to handle the data in such kinds of softwares. And maybe one drawback may be that it's costly to handle such huge amounts of data. So moving on from next, so before we dive into the coding stuff, let's just get to know what RDBMS is. This is what all of the modern database management systems use. We are going to work in MySQL, so make sure you get that set up also. So how relationship database management system, how that works is basically we have these tables, these rows and columns, and that's the most efficient way of working with databases. Yeah, like I said, it contains a number of tables, and each table has its own primary key, which makes it stand different from others. So yeah, due to a collection of organized sets, data can be accessed easily in our Dbms. Yeah, so before we just start coding, you can just download MySQL, and then so I will try to keep this much more of a hands-on experience, but as we go ahead, I will explain a few of the theory concepts which we need also. So one more thing that I want to say to you, that you will learn this language in a better way if you practice how to do it. So I can just teach you, a few ropes, but it completely lies on you whether you practice it or not, and whether how you practice it. So make notes, and you can just get started. You can download MySQL from here. It's not very difficult to download. It looks quite complex, but you have to just keep going, enter and enter and enter. Yeah, all right, so let's get started with MySQL. This is my current workbench. So let me just close this. So when you open your MySQL Workbench, this is what you see. So this is currently a server that I have hosted. So you can create one from here. I'm just going to click on this one. So yeah, this is my basic query editor where I actually write all of my code. So here's a basic code list that I've created, which we are going to try to cover up in this tutorial. So just a quick overview of Workbench. So on the left, what we see are all of the databases. All right, so here's where we code. Here are all the databases. Here, as you can see, we can create new script files, we can import them, and these three buttons are just the output file and etc. We don't need them currently, so we can just close them. If you have an error, you can just click this button right here and check the console of what's gone wrong. So whenever you write a code, for example, I write something, it's not an actual code. For example, I write print. This is not an actual code. So what I have to do is I can either press Control Enter to run each individual line, or I can just select this line and click this execute button. So this is not an actual SQL code. I'm just giving you an example. And if you don't select anything and just click this run button, it will run everything line wise. So yes, let me just delete this. So how to create a new database in SQL? We can go ahead and create a schema from right here, or what we can do is we can go and create it from command line. So yeah, you just need to enter your password and write create database, your database name, etc. Then in these databases, like I explained, there are tables. There are multiple tables. So let's just start with the first one. I have a cricket database right here. So if I see this, I can open this up, and you can see that there are three tables that I have created: the table 1, the table 2, and the team info. So what we can do is just click here, and it's going to show us the details of the table. It's just going to show us the table like it shows in Excel. So I can make a few changes here too, but let's not do that. We are here to code. Okay, let me just close this. Yes, so let's just get started by creating a table. All right, so what we can just do is we can write a simple code called create table, and then what we do is we mention our table name. So for example, let's make a database. Let's inside the cricket data, for example, let's make a table which is a games. Okay, then I will just name, and inside this curly bracket, what we have to do is we can give the columns of our data of our table. So I'll just call it name, and then I have to specify the data type of the column. So this is going to be a varchar, which basically means it's a string, and then inside these curly brackets we can provide it the number of letters it will accept. So a name accepting 50 letters, that's convincing. Yeah, okay, so let's see what else, what else do we want here. We can write, established year, est year. Let's write it in small. Established years. Okay, so when was this game released? Instead we can write released real year. Okay, so when was this game released? So we can just go ahead and create something like this, or let's just create an int for a while. This will accept integers, so let's just write 20 and comma. So what else do we want here? Let's see. We did varchar, we did year. Let's not say this for initially. We are going to cover this obviously. It's what it basically does. It's an ID and it's a primary key. That means it will be unique for all of it. And this auto increment basically means like every time we insert a new row in our table, the value will be increased, so we don't have to enter it. So which means 1 2 3, it will do that automatically. So yeah, for now, another thing which we can add here is country. Where was this game launched first? Yeah, so that's just going to be a varchar. Yeah, so 50, right, that's reasonable. And then we just close our curly braces. So now it may look like everything's complete, but it's not. So this is just going to be one line. You can write this directly in complete one line, it won't matter. I just put it down so it looks good for us. So every time you finish writing an SQL query, a line of code, you have to put the semicolon. So now when you go ahead and run this, it will work properly. So let me just start the output for now, and if I can just go ahead and select completely this, and I can keep my cursor anywhere and just press Ctrl Enter. Alright, so it gives me some error, but yeah, my table is, I suppose, created. So let me just refresh this. Yeah, I have a table called games which is created. All right, so okay, we just created a table right now. So what's this table actually? It's just just like a normal Excel table which has columns called name, released year, and country in which it was released in. Yeah, so another quick thing I would like to tell you about that databases. So these are my databases, and currently I am working in this cricket database. So currently it's highlighted, so it means that we are working in cricket data. So if I double click here, so now it means we are working in SQL inventory. So I will just double click here back again, or what we can do is we can just write use cricket data. And SQL is not case sensitive, so you can just write however you want. So when I run this code, it means that I am using the database called cricket data. You can do it assignment 1 or whatever you want. Alright, so moving on from that, let's see what actually we created. So how to see this database? Currently this database, this table. So how to see this table that we just created? It currently has no values in it. Its structure is just basically completed. Yeah, so let's go ahead and see how to see this. So I can just yeah, I wrote it down here how to see. So it means basically select from, and then we enter the table name. So what this means is basically it says select everything from team info. So what's team info? Team info is the table which I created here. So yeah, let's just copy this code and paste it here. So but instead of team info, we are going to write game. So game. So what this basically means, select everything from games and display it to me. and then I can select this and I can press this button. So as you can see down below, I have a table which is created. So name, real year, country, released year and country. So it's currently empty. So let's see how we can input data in our table. So for that, what we have to do is we can just go ahead and insert values. So insert into the table name, and then in front of it in curly brackets we write the column names and we give space, or you can not, it's your choice completely. Then we write values, and inside the values, inside the curly brackets, we write the actual value. So the name goes to Indian cricket team, the country is India, and the established year is 1973. So what we can just go ahead and do is we can write insert into, then we give our table name games, then as we saw, we have to give the names of the columns. So let me just give it, let me just call it, oops, let me just call it name. Then what was it? It was released year, so real. It's actually not case sensitive, but I like to use it how I actually declared. And next comes country, right? And then I can go ahead and write values, the values which I want to insert in them. Yeah, so the values are, let's insert the first one. So the first, we have to write them in quotation marks. So the first game is, let's call it Batman. Let's call the first game as Batman. Then we can give a comma and we can input the released year. So let me just type 2001, and then what I can do is the country, the released country. So suppose it released in USA for the first time. Yeah, so let's see if our query is actually completed. Yeah, so everything looks good. Let's go ahead and run this and see if any problem comes up. Let me just run this. So let me just create now. Yeah, so as it says here, insert into games Batman, 1 row is affected, so, and green tick mark. So it means that we have successfully inserted our this first row in. So let's just go ahead and see. You can just select this right here and run it again. So as you can see, our first row has been inserted. So the name of the game is Batman, year is 201, and the country is USA. Yep, so that's cool. So the next thing which we will see is actually just yeah, so there's another command which lets us see all of the databases we have. Well, actually we can see here all of the databases that we have, but you should know how to do it with code also. So here we can write show databases, and when I run this, see, I get the same list as here, but I get it like as an output. So that's one thing. So let's check out what we can cover in this tutorial. So yeah, let's explore the select function more. So we can write another query which says like select, everything from games, but we can write more ahead of it. So like for example here, select from team info, select everything from team info where country is equal to USA. So for now we only have one row which calls as USA, but but suppose there are multiple rows and columns, then there are going to be multiple countries. So we can just specify our country, whichever we want, or any value we want. So suppose if I write India, let's see if it displays. The code will run, but I don't think that the table will display anything because there is no country called India in our games table. So let me just run this. Yeah, so it's the same table, but it's not going to show us anything as there's only one row and India is not there. So let's just add India later. So this is how the select function works, the select query works. Select everything. Instead of writing everything, you can write specific requirements, like for example, select country name from team info. So select it will show us the country and name. So for example, if we run select name and established year, it will just show us the columns of name and established or released year. It won't show us the country column. Yeah, so this is basically how SQL, the basic structure of how SQL works. There are many different kinds of queries of SQL. So what we can do here, as we saw, like we inserted into a column. So what we can actually do here is enter multiple values at the same time. So I created one curly bracket and then I did enter one row. We can just put a comma up ahead and enter another curly bracket where we input the next row. So the next thing which I believe we can see is, yes, the alter table. So what alter table basically does is it modifies, or it can delete, it can change the values of the table. So here what we can do is alter table, we can type games and we can put add, and we can add another column called let's see, genre of the game. So let me just copy this and I will just paste it here, and instead of writing country, we already have country, I will write genre and varchar 50. And this not null, basically when we write it ahead, it basically means that this value cannot be left null, so there always must be some value present there. So let me just run this. Yeah, so it has run successfully, as when we create the output we can see here. And let's just go and see our table. Wait a minute. Yep, I forgot to change the name of the table. So by mistake I entered it into this team info table. So now I want to actually run it into the games table. So when I run this again, and let's run this again, so as you can see we have a column called genre. Alright guys, so I think this will be all for this current tutorial. I am going to teach you much complex form of queries in the upcoming tutorials. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So if you liked it, please give it a like, share with your friends, also subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon. Okay guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye till then.